But Hiemstra. Yes.
Jennifer Hiemstra.
Is that like a Norwegian?
It is Frisian.
Frisian, which is
A part. It's a very, very old area
Take some more,
that
take
is
some more.
mostly
I'm gonna have a
in the
little more.
Netherlands nowadays, partially
The
in
peanuts
Germany.
too. We got.
But
yeah,
my
popcorn
family
peanuts.
comes from the area that's in the Netherlands.
okay.
The name actually literally means from the homestead.
Oh, that's good.
Very nice.
Probably means I'm far.
What, the peanuts? Aha, backup peanuts.
Hiemstra.
Hiemstra.
Yes. Like I before E except after C. I actually have two last names, but Hiemstra. Yes.
Jennifer
Yes.
Hiemstra. Can I say something?
You could say a lot.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Live from Don's historic basement in Arlington, Virginia, and broadcasting over the air and into your ear holes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all of you in between. Welcome to StageCraft.
Oh, yes.
It's StageCraft.
Yes.
With our special guest, Jennifer Hiemstra.
Correct.
Yes.
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 Hi.
Hey.
We're all getting it right.
Yes.
Great. So we have.
So I started my on the internet actually on an internet radio station back in October of 2019.
Okay.
And then I brought my show onto WERA 96.7 FM in February of 2020.
All right.
2021. Sorry.
So you are on the radio too, not just the podcast.
Yeah, I do. I do record the show and upload it to Mixcloud. But yeah, my show's primarily I call it my radio show. And
What time?
it's on Thursday nights at 8 p.m.
Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And the name of the show one more time?
The Vinyl Vault.
It's the Vinyl Vault Thursday nights, people. That's tomorrow night at 8 p.m. You can tune in. And what can people expect to hear?
Well, usually it's either one of two things. So I primarily do a mix of music that is punk, indie, alternative, and what I say is other odds and ends.
Yes.
And which is it ends up being very eclectic. And I play both, some really classic stuff. All the way back to I think the earliest one I did was from the 20s.
Oh my gosh.
Up to I always make sure to feature music from today,
All
as
right.
well as a large number of artists in the local DC area.
So this is a wonderful, Don, I would say that this is a wonderful throwback show back when you would have a DJ who curated a show, a DJ who knew their stuff. All right?
Wow.
Back to the 20s to today and is picking out the tracks that get you excited and you're sharing them with the community the way it used to be, right, Catherine?
Yes. And
Fred, tell them the way it is now.
I'll tell you the way it is now. It's all playlists and ball bearings.
And who
man.
makes those
Yeah.
playlists, though?
You know,
corporate.
my corporate overlord.
Corporate
Overlord.
Yes.
Reverb.
This is making me
Oh,
sad.
yes, Mr. Bezos, yes. I'll play the Eagles again, Mr. Bezos, yes.
Wow.
No offense, Don Henlow. But, so, if I may,
Yes.
thank you. Jennifer, you have personal history in radio, but you have a family history in radio as well. Would you tell me
do.
a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So as I was kind of tentatively looking into having my own radio show, my mom had mentioned it to my grandmother.
Yes.
Who's still kicking in her upper 90s
What's
at
her
this
name?
point. Dottie.
Hi, Dottie. Shout out to Dottie.
My mom's name is Lois, though.
Shout out to Lois as well.
So
And where are they?
they are in Michigan.
Michigan. Now, if I hold up my hand here,
Yes, you're holding up the wrong hand.
shoot, if I hold up this hand, where are we?
You're in the southwest side, near. Yes,
over
there.
here?
Yep, over there.
This is this is an audio medium. So we're over here near the what would be the
Opposite the thumb.
Yes, on the other side of Detroit. So on the other side of the state from Detroit.
And that's where you grew up.
I grew up there along with cows and soybeans and corn.
All right.
All right.
And your grandfather was there.
My grandfather was born in Ohio, where they call it Ohio,
Okay.
in Georgetown,
Okay.
which is in Brown County, Ohio, and
County, sure.
that is where he had his own radio show. And this is what I found out after my mom spoke to my grandmother.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
when you decided to start your own radio show,
Yes,
you were not aware of this.
not at all.
And your family thought, well, of course she's doing this. And then they informed you, they told you, what did they tell
You
you?
got DJ in your jeans.
I
Yeah,
do,
you've got
I
that
do, and
heritage.
DIY at that. So my grandfather built his station in a farm in the backyard,
Oh, man.
and it was a pirate radio station.
It's StageCraft
Yes.
with our special guest, Jennifer Hiemstra.
Correct.
Yes.
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 Hi.
Hey.
We're all getting it right.
And it was a pirate radio station, and started in during the Depression era, and then went through World War II. So I think a little bit after World War II. And
So the 30s through the mid 40s, he's doing radio, and he was an engineer as well.
yeah, he was an engineer, so he did a lot in the music industry, primarily designing hi-fis, designing audio equipment, and that was his primary world. But on the side, his passion has always been music, and he was not himself a musician, but he loved music, much like me. And so he would invite regional, and this was near the Appalachian Mountains. So he'd bring in regional individuals to perform on air, as well as play all of the great records from that region, and some of the major ones as well.
I think that's amazing. You had a question?
Yeah, I have a question. You said he designed audio equipment.
Yes.
So he's putting together, he's designing and building and using like vacuum tube amps and stuff like that. That's really amazing, and probably would be worth a lot now. I mean, anything vacuum tube is worth a lot. But,
Yeah.
But that's really incredible that he could just do all that.
He was a brilliant man. He was a very brilliant man, and music inspired him, and just the world of audio inspired him.
What did he put as a label on there? For in other words, his brand on the. In other words, he made a piece of equipment. What did he?
He worked for several different companies
Okay.
Over the years, and unfortunately I don't have it in the top of my head which ones they were. But one of the ones that I do remember, there was a period of time where people could go into a studio and make a recording for a loved one that might be overseas, and they'd start with these
great.
blank
Very nice.
records, and then they would record over that. He was one of the engineers that actually did those recordings.
What a great project.
Yeah. And that didn't last for very long, but that was out of Charlotte in Michigan. And other than that, I mean, it was just a bunch of different companies that he worked for over the years.
May I ask, Jennifer, since we've been talking so much about your storied grandfather, can we, as a tribute, say his name so it can be broadcast over WERA
For the whole world.
for the whole world to hear?
His name was Louis Sowers, and his nickname was Whitey.
Ah, Whitey. Yes.
what's
There
he-
used to be a Whitey's restaurant right over there. On
Yes.
yeah, you
Good
remember that
chili.
place? Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's the Eat Bar now.
Yeah, whatever. Hoity-toity.
Did you mention something else he designed?
Yeah.
With aviation?
Yeah, so right around, I want to say it was around World War II, when airplanes were still fairly new. They were getting to the point where they would have a black box, but the recordings would be fairly short. And at that point, the duration of flights was still fairly short. But they had a need for having a longer recording and something that would continue to record during the flight, so a continuous
Yes.
loop. And
A tape loop.
yes.
Yes.
And so what he did, he was on a team of engineers that designed, several of them were designed at the same time. They had ones that were designed in the UK. They had some designed here in the States.
Yeah.
He's on the patent for one of the ones that was in the States.
That is unbelievable. If you think about it, Don, Kat, if you think about this, so you've got a tape loop, essentially a tape loop running, a couple of mics in the cockpit, going direct to the tape loop, and then the box has to be so indestructible that it will survive a wreck. God bless. I mean, hopefully there's not a wreck.
Yeah.
But if there is one, this tape machine has to survive.
But the one question I have, if it's a loop, the loop keeps erasing itself as it re-records.
That's
it.
correct. Yes.
Right.
So they would choose. I don't remember the duration. It might have been an hour. It might have been even a half an hour.
I think a half hour will get you the information you need. Like, how long do you need to crash your plane?
And hopefully it stops once it crashes.
Jennifer Hiemstra.
Yes.
Don was asking me earlier. We were talking about the black box and the airplane, and how a plane will crash and almost nothing will survive, but there's the black box. And my friend Don Zantara was asking, well, why don't they just make the whole plane out of the black box stuff, right?
Yeah.
Seems reasonable. Seems reasonable.
Absolutely. Now, why didn't he use digital chips instead of this tape stuff?
Well,
Because he doesn't have a crystal ball.
Yeah. He was pretty ahead of his time, but not that far ahead.
Actually, I'm going to back up a little bit to the tubes. You mentioned tubes there.
Yeah.
Tubes are quite easily to design around because basically they're a whole amplifier. You just attach a couple little pieces and you've got an amplifier in one way or another. And of course you could stack these. So people think, ooh, tubes are complicated and stuff, but they really aren't. They're less complicated than solid state.
Yeah, and they, in my opinion, and everybody has their own opinion, but when you're using tube amplifiers and whatnot, it has such to me, a warm sound to it. Just a really nice warmth. And unfortunately, after my grandfather passed, my grandmother was grieving quite a bit, and most of that amazing equipment, including he would rebuild old equipment. So he had just tons and tons and tons of wax cylinder record players.
Oh my God.
And, just all of these amazing radios from over the years. And unfortunately, those did not make it through the process.
It happens.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is.
I have a question. Do you have a question, Don? You want to go?
No. Before your question,
Yes, sir.
Let's all go around the room and reintroduce ourselves. Alex wanted us to introduce ourselves several times. So, Alex, this is for you.
Hi, I'm Alex Fidales, and I'm allergic to cheese, man.
And he's sitting right next to the cheese popcorn.
I'm Fred Hoff. Very happy to be here. Love WERA. I love you, Arlington, Alexandria. And sitting to my left,
Catherine Riccio, and I am thrilled to be here. I'm still pinching myself. I can't believe I'm recording a show with these fantastic people. And yeah, that's me.
My name is Jennifer Hiemstra. I'm known as JC over the airs. And I have The Vinyl Vault is my primary show.
And I'm Don Zantara. And we are on StageCraft right now. You're listening to it.
listen,
Listen.
listen,
Listen. Like an echo.
listen.
Listen.
You're listening.
Listen.
You're listening.
Okay,
You're
you had
listening.
a question. Let's get off this.
So,
We're on a
Jennifer,
tape loop.
I think it's awesome, the concept of your program. My favorite radio shows growing up were freeform, like Surf, for instance, was a great DJ back in the day, and it was all curated, so you pick out what you want to play and you play for them. Can I ask you, how did you become fascinated with music? What drew you in? What about the sound seduced you as, I'm guessing, a young person?
So, ever since I was born, I was very into music. I remember a conversation that I would always be singing whatever was on the radio. And living out in the country, you don't have things like college radios or very many independent radios.
Where was this? What town?
Southwest Michigan. It was south of Kalamazoo.
Okay.
Don, if you look at my hand, it's
Yeah.
here. Right?
Right
that is
near
just-
your wrist.
It's here. It's near the wrist.
Okay.
Yes, in the
Opposite
of
the
the-
thumb for all you curious
yes, opposite
listeners.
of the thumb. And there's lots of cows and soybeans and corn there. So anyways, the music, has been just something my entire life. I remember a conversation with my dad. I was sitting at the table and I was singing whatever's on the radio. And my dad he's like, "So what do you think is your favorite song?" And I said, "The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald."
Oh.
And my dad said, "No, what is your favorite song?" And I'm like, "Well, Bohemian Rhapsody."
Okay, and how old are you at the time?
I was probably about 6 or 7.
Oh, gosh.
Cool.
Yeah. So the way I describe my music tastes at this point in my life is I like things that have teeth.
I'm convinced that if you create your own spell, it has a greater effect on your life. But very many people don't have the confidence to do this as beginners. The people who say they are witches, and there are very many thousands of them in the United States, may or may not be witches. That I don't know. I haven't gone through any spiritual.
The way I describe my music tastes at this point in my life is I like things that have teeth.
Yeah.
Teeth and claws and grit,
Yeah.
and lyrics that have meaning, and I think that's a lot of the reason why I'm drawn to punk music. But everything that I listen to just it lacks too much polish. If it's too polished, I probably am not going to like it.
So on that note, you play a lot of local music,
Bands.
local
Yep.
bands. Would you take a minute and talk about some of the local bands that you're really excited about that you play?
I mean, I can't play favorites. That's so hard.
Just name a few of them. Name one or two of them. We all know that you love all of them, but
Yes.
there are a couple of them that you love to spin their records. Who is it?
Yeah, so I'll talk about some of the recent releases that I've featured on the show. Outer Loop came out with an EP recently that is just wonderful.
And where are they from?
They are from DC.
Okay.
And
And they're named after the outer loop of...
of Washington, D.C., I'm assuming.
Yep. Beltway.
Oh,
Beltway.
Where the Freedom Convoy was.
Yes.
Yeah, outer
Fighting
loop
for
in the
your
Beltway.
freedom, Don.
Bane
Fighting
of
for
many
my
people's
freedom?
existence.
I
By
totally-
causing traffic.
Oh, okay. Thank. Yeah, I get the connection. I think.
Yeah, you're a better man than I don't have any idea.
They've got the brains, don't worry.
They got the. Okay, good. I'm glad someone's thinking about it.
Another one that's I featured on the show recently was Brenda. It's spelled BRNDA. They have a really cool kind of post-punk sound. They're great. Big fan of Teething Veils.
Nice.
They're working on a new album. They're out on tour right now. There's so many. I'm so sorry to everybody that's
good.
my listeners.
3 is good, and everybody she didn't mention,
Yeah.
you know
I
that
love
she
you
loves
too.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It's okay.
Of course.
It's good.
So do you have like an epic vinyl collection? I mean, do you have like...
So interestingly enough, I did not start collecting vinyl. I mean, there's vinyl from when I was a child and had a Fisher-Price record player. But by the time I could have my own, music device after the transistor radio, I had a boombox because it was the 80s. It was the late 80s at that point. So
This is also known as a ghetto blaster.
yes.
Had a tape deck on it.
There's one on the
Yeah.
back
Yes.
porch.
Oh, I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a nice, and I also put stickers on it.
Did
of
it
course.
have a short wave radio on it?
No, it did not. It had AM, FM.
Okay.
Yeah, and the first one I had only had one single deck, so you could record the radio on it, and that was it. So I did not buy a turntable until about 6 years ago now. And I didn't start collecting records in earnest until about 4 years ago. And for that amount of time, I do have a lot of records because it's an obsession.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what you're here for, Fred.
Thank you. I'm here to ask the question.
Good
Jennifer,
question, man.
now, when you go to look for records here in the area, are there spots that you like to go? Are you willing or able to reveal the places you like to go record shopping?
Yeah. So when I first got my turntable, I was just buying records off of Amazon because I didn't know any better. And I'm like, I want to go into a real record store. And so I looked it up, and I live in the Delray area. And
Right off of Commonwealth? Whoop, whoop.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
305. Come on now.
Don't stalk me, people.
Come on, people.
So I discovered Crooked Beat Records.
Yes, in Old Town Alexandria.
Yes.
They're great.
Yes. And in fact, I liked it so much that despite having a full-time job, I decided to work weekends there just so I could be with the music.
See,
Nice.
I love that.
That's a commitment.
I love that.
Yep, that's cool.
Yeah. And nowadays I, only pick up a shift here and there when he really needs me. But
you're available and you love it there. Like
I
when
love
you're
it
there,
there.
it's not really work.
yeah, it's
mean, it
not.
is.
I mean,
Oh, no.
you do.
Lifting.
You're physically doing things,
Yeah.
but you're doing it amongst the records.
And you're
It's just
happy to
something.
be
Yeah.
there and you're listening to stuff.
Yes.
And I think you're not that far from a pretty good coffee shop.
Yeah, there is a coffee shop that's down the street from us, and there's a really cool place called Uni Noodle Box.
Oh, yes.
That's really
Yeah.
good.
And those tennis courts are right there. Which I don't
Yes.
I don't know if you get out and
Well,
swing that racket.
based upon my last blood panel that told me I am desperately low on vitamin D, I think I don't leave the house very much.
Just very quickly, Jarrett Nicolay, I'm talking to you.
What?
You're a punk. You can't play tennis. I know how to play tennis. And I'll meet you right down there on those tennis courts. You know the ones.
He's always ready for a battle.
All right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
There's an ongoing threat that he can beat Henry Rollins in a thumb wrestling contest.
That's right, Hollywood Hank. Your thumbs
right.
are old and slow. Okay.
Right. Someday. Someday it's gonna happen.
I'm sure he is feeling intimidated
Look at
right
these
now.
things.
Yeah.
Look
Oh,
at these things.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Look at
Years of gaming.
That's right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
here
Yes.
we are.
You know what? Right behind you, Kat, there's a bunch of records.
Ah.
Can Jennifer just comment on a
Oh, nice.
few of them?
I
Just
also brought
grab a
I
grab
also
a
brought a
handful.
couple
Oh, really?
pieces of wax. Yeah.
Really? So we have okay.
Yeah. Oh, this is good.
Some of this is
Oh my
old
goodness.
stuff. There's a lot of them.
There's a lot. That's
There's a
not
lot.
a few.
Right off the bat, I see.
Hey, listen,
classics.
look at
And they're
one.
old.
What is that? What is that first one?
The first one is Elton John.
Ah.
Don't Shoot Me.
I think he's amazing.
Yes.
He writes great songs.
As a matter of fact, very quickly, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I'd like to interject this question for Don Z over here.
Sure.
Don,
I don't know Elton personally, but go ahead.
Don, honestly, who's more punk rock?
Yeah.
Sid Vicious or Elton John? Sir Elton John.
You know, they're in different worlds.
Yeah.
They're definitely in different worlds. And, well, of course, not to, you have to be alive to get this award, don't you?
Yeah. Who knows what Sid would have done with his
it's Elton.
career had
It's
he
Elton.
continued to
It's Elton.
to thrive.
It's Elton.
Elton John has a certain punk element to him. You know, the genre is too hyper specific in my opinion.
Fair enough, I agree.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
he stands up at the piano and plays like, what was that?
Dressed up like Donald Duck and kicking things over. In
No,
Central
but who's
Park?
the other guy that did the
Oh,
piano?
the
Liberace?
killer. No, the killer. He's talking
The
about
killer.
Jerry Lee
The killer,
Lewis.
exactly.
Oh,
Yes. The killer.
I think he's also dressed like Liberace though.
Jennifer, I'd like to
maybe-
hand you this piece of wax right here. Mm-hmm. You can ask Don what that is.
The Earth Hell Band, which is on Holiday. Don, do you have a story about this?
Nothing that can be repeated. No, it's a sort of a put together band. Darren Drake put it together. Producer Darren Drake, aka Flame,
That's a
put
great
it
name.
together.
Oh, I know Flame.
What? You know Flame?
Yeah.
Okay, he's in there.
Who else is on that record, Don?
We're gonna have to go to Jennifer because she has got
Jennifer doesn't have her glasses.
I can
so
read it to you. Kat, you want to read who's
I
on
sure
it?
can. I don't.
It's all blurred to me.
Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And the name of the show one more time?
The Vinyl Vault.
It's the Vinyl Vault. Thursday nights, people. It's StageCraft. Yes. With our special guest, Jennifer Hiemstra.
Correct.
Yeah. But it's sort of collaboration.
Oh yeah,
Like a supergroup.
I would say
Darren Drake and Oma
subliminal
Lara
group.
Lynch and Dan. I don't know. It's really dark.
May I?
Dan, he played the cello.
It says here, Don Zintara,
Yeah, of course.
space guitar,
His name
bass
is First, by
on
the way.
song Termination,
Uh-huh.
engineering. There's Darren Drake, bass, vocal, synth, toy piano, drum machine programming, and sampler. Oma Lars Lynch on timbal drums, vocal, synth, drum machine programming, guitar manipulations, vocal, and environmental effects.
Nice.
And Don Rippy, Don Rip,
Dan. That's,
Dan Rip
yeah.
on cello, violin, synth, drum machine programming, and unknown preacher vocals.
Yeah.
So
Intrigued
this is,
by the instrumentation that's on there.
No, so
Definitely.
this is the Earth Hell Band. You know, Darren gave me this when we were throwing a party for.
Oh, really?
It was a farewell party for the old. Well, I guess not really the old
The
inner
old?
ear, because this is the old. We're sitting in the old inner
Oh,
ear.
there. Yeah. This,
Yeah.
That was the old inner ear.
The
This is
OG.
old-
Yeah.
This is the old new inner ear.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is my gift to you.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
And if you're lucky, you can open it up. That guy will sign it for you.
I'll do that after the show.
Yeah, after the show.
That is very cool. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I have one more for you. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to hand this off to you. I only ask that you listen to it,
Okay.
and if you like it, play it on
What
your
do we
show. Tell them what
do
your
we
show
have?
is one more time.
The Vinyl Vault. Thursdays at 8 p.m. Replaying on Sundays at 10.
Thank you. This is Los Mariachis del Mexico.
Oh, very nice. Oh, I'm sure I will like this.
It's hot stuff.
I'm sure I will love this. Thank you.
You're quite
That's
welcome.
cool.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've noticed I was kind of flipping through some of the albums here. First of all, Andy Williams.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
My grandfather loved Andy Williams.
For the
and
time, he was a great singer.
Yeah, he's got a terrific voice. So definitely a fan. Gordon Lightfoot.
Talk about the wreck of the
Yeah,
Edmund Fitzgerald.
yes, I love Gordon Lightfoot.
Of course, Out My Back Door. Is that, you know that song? Sunrise. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the
Take
CCR.
care. No, no, no. I should stop doing this.
Yeah.
It's a Lightfoot number.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought it was CCR, but I guess not.
The Letterman. So I definitely know them.
Their lead singer
that's-
was named Dave, I think.
Really? Now, let me just tell you a little bit. The Lettermen were revered by the Slicky Boys.
Really?
Yes. Mark Noon loves them.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
And they really just liked what they did.
Yeah,
Even though the music is a little bit different.
completely different.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's okay. A lot of the inspiration that people get for musicians get for themselves, you can barely hear it in there. It's just a nuance.
You're right. You're right.
So I love that story. That is fantastic. And
Fred, can I try some of that corn?
I want to. I have a question. It's kind of
Yeah.
a sidebar.
Double good
So,
cheese popcorn is double
You
good.
you host and produce your own show,
Yes.
Vinyl Vault. So, you are a recording engineer. because you would
Yes.
need to be, be able to have those skills. So,
Correct.
did you teach yourself all that?
Yeah, so I am DIY. And initially, in the very beginning, people that do like internet radio might be familiar with a software called BUTT, B-U-T-T.
I like that name.
And it's used to. I'm pretty sure dudes named that. By the way, it is an acronym.
Of course they do.
but
Is
it's
it
a force.
educational software?
If no,
Yeah.
it's
Yes, Beavis
it's-
and Butt. That's
it's-
a good Beavis and Butthead. Excellent.
it's intended
Portfolio.
to be something that can connect directly to a feed over the internet, and it also had a recording feature. So initially, when I did my show, I did it live. So I didn't really do any true engineering. But once I started recording my show, my first thing that I used was Audacity. And, it's perfectly serviceable, but terrible for interviews because it's only one track. And it's free. So, for people that's just getting started in doing recording, whether it's podcasts or radio, Audacity is a perfectly functional recording device. But now I have a tendency to level up many more levels of where I am at that present moment, and I purchased Pro Tools.
Oh, that is a huge level up. I thought you were going to say, and now I use Anchor, which
Yes.
apparently a lot of people use for podcasting. But
Yeah.
Pro Tools, there's nothing you can't do, right?
Now, Pro Tools came out with a free version, something like it was
I've heard
very,
of this.
very restricted, and I don't know if it's still around, but it's
Yeah, I know. I think it came out a while ago. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
still around either. But
it was buggy,
was it?
according to one of my web people.
Yeah, no, I dove directly into Pro Tools, and I tell you what, the first individual that I recorded on Pro Tools was Amanda Mackay, and she came over, and thank goodness she is a very patient person, because I really had no idea what I was doing, and so I had so many little flubs in the beginning, but now I just love the tool. It is I have plugins that I use in it and all that kind of wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
And it's great for doing radio shows and particularly for doing interviews.
Can I say this quarter hour of radio brought to you by...
Except nobody got paid.
Come on, send me a kid. StageCraft.
Yes.
With our special guest, Jennifer Hiemstra. Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And the name of the show one more time?
The Vinyl Vault.
It's the Vinyl Vault, Thursday nights, people.
So you bring all this fantastic music, eclectic music,
Yeah.
to the masses, and honestly, that's his WERA promo. That's what I go to WERA for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the same old rubber stamped. I want eclectic,
Right.
So you not only do that, but I hear you're a musician yourself.
Yes, but barely. Once you can play a few chords, you can call yourself a musician. In high school, I was a musician. I played the cornet. And for those that don't know what a cornet is, it's basically like a trumpet, except it sounds warmer. And
Hubbard.
yes. And I played that from 4th grade through my senior year. My father is a guitar player. He's self-taught. He taught himself when he's watching the Beatles and loving the Beatles, and he's like, I want to do that. Yeah. So he's self-taught on the guitar, and I decided that I wanted to also learn the guitar. So I took lessons for a while, and then I have a tendency to see squirrels and pursue them. And
we have so much in common.
yes, and
I'll be right back.
Joe Lally was
Oh,
advertising the fact that he was taking new students, and he's the bass player for Fugazi as well as Kariki and the Masetics and many other things. And he, his bass playing is just tremendously fantastic. So I'm like, I want to learn from that dude.
Yeah.
So I reached out to him. He put me on his rotation, and I am learning the bass guitar from him.
I think the bass guitar is a fantastic instrument. One of the things that I noticed, Don, and you'll back me up on this.
I don't know if I will. But go ahead, explain it.
All right, thank you. A lot of times it's got 4 strings,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but then sometimes it's got 5. And I'm good with that. But then sometimes there's a 6 or 8 string bass. It's a little out of control.
Yeah.
It's just
I
showing
I
off.
like a 4-string bass. Do you like that?
I
Where are you on
if I
this?
were going to, I would play a bass if I were gonna do that. And I actually prefer the sound of the bass. I don't think bass players get a lot of credit as
Not
much as the
enough, no.
guitar, and I just prefer the sound. I think they lay the foundation of a. Yeah, well, drummers and bass do lay the foundation for a song.
Yeah, it's the framework upon which everything else is laid.
You know what I've heard is that you can have a really good band, and you think it's a really good band, but if your bass player's no good, it's not a very good band.
Yeah.
Right.
I would agree with that. Depending on genre, but yes.
I've also heard that if you got a really what you think might be a really good band, but your drummer's no good, you don't have a
Yeah, that's a problem.
You don't have a really good band.
Both of them, the rhythm section in general, whoever makes up your rhythm section, that provides the foundation upon what good music is placed upon.
Agree. Agree. Now, Charles Mingus. What about that guy? I'm just going to throw that out there. Whoever wants to feel it.
Well, I'll tell you this. I am fascinated with jazz.
Great.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
I regularly will play jazz on my show, just a track here and there.
Okay.
And I always say I'm a student of music, never an expert. And
Beginner mind.
what was that?
Beginner mind.
Beginner mind.
Yeah.
Every time. I'm just constantly curious. And jazz music is an area where I appreciate it, but I don't have a depth of knowledge. So I am slowly adding more and more records into my collection and diving into some of these amazing jazz masters from over the years. So, yeah.
It's an amazing opportunity that we have. And I think that you're doing the community a huge service by taking your own curiosity and enthusiasm and taking time to learn Pro Tools. My goodness gracious, are you kidding me? I really thought you were going to say Anchor. And so you're putting these shows together and putting them over the air,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorite things and a family tradition for you.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
I mean, it's pretty fantastic. And I remember when I was a kid and, I had my little tape recorder and I would play pretend I was a DJ when I was a kid. And I had all those wonderful cassette tapes that I would make that are now destroyed.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that I fell into that I never knew I had a passion for until I did. Now, my friends, high school, college, I would constantly be making mixtapes for them and be like, oh, have you heard these new artists? You should check this out. And so the fact that I do enjoy, kind of selecting music and introducing people, and I call it matchmaking.
Yes.
I think has always been there, but I never, when I first started, I'm like, I don't think I have a voice for radio. And my friends are like, are you serious? And I'm like, I don't think I do.
Well, I remember when I first, the first radio interview I did, and then, but the thing that people kept telling me, and Don will back me up on this, is that they said,
Maybe.
They said,
maybe.
they
You
said
hope.
to me, Don, they said to me, well, you
What'd they say, Fred?
Don, they said, you sure do have a face for radio.
That's kind.
Oh my.
That's such a nice thing to say.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, that's lovely. What great friends.
It's good to have friends.
But I can see why Vinyl Vault is so popular, because people encouraged you to do your own show because you had a talent for curating this music in a way that makes sense to people, that resonates. So when you plan a show, do you have a certain theme in mind? How do you segue from you have a guest that ties into a certain genre, or do you mix it up?
Yeah. So, excuse me. You know what? Hold on.
Yes.
This water break brought
Let us
to you
all.
by.
Let us all
That's not
have a
water.
libation.
Anyways, mine's vodka. I'm kidding. I'm drinking water. So
StageCraft.
Yes.
With our special guest, Jennifer Hiemstra.
every show is a little bit different. So way in the beginning, I tried to do themes, and themes offer a framework to work within, which can be enjoyable because it causes you to be creative. But after a while, what I found out I was doing is just I have a hard time making decisions, so I created an algorithm to help me choose the music that I'm going to play on any given week. And it's a starting point, but I always hand pick what I want that the algorithm gives me. I'm a little bit more thoughtful about new music. I usually feature albums that I like that have recently come out, about 3 shows in a row.
That's so cool.
And same for local artists. The local artists I always have on, and that's a shorter list, so you get to hear some of these bands more frequently. I have the entire catalog for Fugazi, so Fugazi gets a lot of airplay.
Hey, now.
Yeah. All right.
But recently what I've found that I've been doing is, I'll pick the first few songs, the first few tracks, and after I've done that, I start to see a theme, and then for the rest of the tracks, I try to play with that very lightly. I just have fun with it. When I have an artist on, really the conversation dictates what the music
So
is.
you do have artists on and you interview artists?
Yes, not frequently. My first guest on WERA was Mr. Don Zintera.
That guy. I've heard of that.
But
guy.
that was good.
Yes.
Was he now, as far as guests go, was he open?
Oh, come on. I'm not going to look.
I tell you what, so I was so nervous, and he invited me over to the studio, and of course I'm, big eyes, just looking around and
Was
being
he
like, oh my God,
wearing
this is so
shoes?
cool. I think he was wearing flip-flops. And it was like
That's
February, so,
That's done.
Yeah.
He was so generous with his time and so patient with me because I was such a little kid in a candy store when I was there. I think I was there like 4 hours.
But it was still on Audacity.
It was. Yeah, but I've learned my lesson.
Yeah.
I have a
was
follow-up
fun.
question,
Yeah.
if it's okay. All right. What are the radio shows that you grew up listening to that there have to be a couple of shows either locally in Michigan or where did you go to college?
Ferris State University.
Oh, yes. Ferris State University.
Ferris Bueller?
Not Ferris Bueller.
Okay.
That's Chicago.
Oh.
No. Ferris State University is in northern Michigan.
So
Go to the left.
Ring finger?
here?
No, the other way.
Here?
There,
Yeah.
yes.
Here? Okay.
And that was also with cows
on the ring
and
finger.
It's
with
up there between the pinky and
soybeans.
the ring finger. And so you're there. Again, let me reiterate the question. The radio shows that you listen to that got you fascinated with it.
Yeah, so it's complex. So being from a very small town, not close to a city or a college,
Yes.
I had no exposure to any college radio stations nor any interesting independent radio stations.
Right.
What I had was either WLKM, which was the Three Rivers radio station, which played soft rock, it was called back then, from the 70s. So that's
Okay.
why, Gordon Lightfoot was the first artist that I thought of.
He's great.
He's great. I got to listen to him a
Or
lot.
Chris Christopherson, maybe.
Well, we didn't play. He didn't play country music.
A little bit. Is he James, maybe a little James Taylor then?
He's
Yes,
sort of
James
outlaw.
Taylor, definitely. He's outlaw country, yeah. Or we could listen to WKFR out of Kalamazoo. That was top 40.
Okay.
Later on, when I was a preteen, we got WRKR, which was the classic rocker.
And were there any on-air personalities that you liked? Like, oh gosh, I want to hear this show because they come on at 4 o'clock. No.
So, but I would watch movies, and for instance, American Graffiti had Wolfman Jack on it, and I was fascinated. I grew up watching.
Don, that's a George Lucas picture.
Oh.
I grew up watching WKRP in Cincinnati.
Yes. Oh,
So
great show.
I was inspired by those artists,
All right, yeah.
which that was obviously a very exaggerated version of a DJ. But over the course of the years, I got more and more interested in some of these DJs that I couldn't tune in. I watched a lot of MTV, but
Nina Blackwood.
yeah, Nina Blackwood, the entire, Adam Curry, all of those guys.
Curry,
Sure.
And I loved MTV because I got to listen to music that I couldn't get in the local area.
Oh, that's amazing.
Especially 120 Minutes when they started doing that. That was my favorite show.
Yeah.
And they had on, I think it was the USA Network, they had a show that would play videos from like the 70s of like, people like Gary Newman and old David Bowie stuff.
Nice.
And I think it was it Night Flight?
Well, yeah, it was called Night Flight. And there was
Night
another
Life?
one, Night Flight.
Night
Yeah,
Flight.
yeah, it was awesome. I remember that. And then they had another program that Gilbert Gottfried hosted, but that was different.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are the things that kind of inspired me over the years. But it was never anything that I actually listened to. I knew what I didn't like. And I knew, when I saw something like Wolfman Jack, who just was really into what he was listening to and just over the top with it. There was, and I'm going to forget his name, but there was a DJ out of Ohio. That was another one that was just over the top.
Yeah.
And inspired during his shows.
And you liked that or you did not like
I
it?
liked that.
You loved that.
I love that.
Where are you on Casey Kasem?
I mean, Casey Kasem has a lovely golden voice, but he was made for the masses.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's kind of in a box.
But he came
there.
from, where did Casey come from?
I don't know where Casey Kasem came from.
That's really old school.
Yeah.
No idea.
Hey, listeners, email us at
StageCraft.com.
He did the top 40 countdown each week.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was syndicated all across the nation.
It became syndicated across the nation, which was not something that was really done that often before that.
No, the only other person that I know of off the top of my head was he did the ball falling each year.
Clark.
Dick
Dick
Clark.
Clark, yes.
So he had I want to say a nationally syndicated show as well, if I remember correctly.
Quick question, Don. Who's more punk rock, Casey Kasem or Dick Clark?
Which one can thumb wrestle better?
Fair enough.
Oh, man, I don't think either of them will fall in.
Not at all.
They're all both out of the way.
They're all very corporate.
Very pop, very corporate.
Yeah, mainstream.
But Jennifer, what are some of those that got knocked off the list that you don't? In other words, you listen to them. Hey, I'm not going to listen to it again.
I hate, and some people are going to be like, "Oh,
That's a
how
strong
could you say
word."
that?"
Yeah.
It's a strong word, but it's true. I hate morning zoos. Those shows that come on in the morning and they're bawdy and they're stupid and they're
caffeinated.
Yeah, they're caffeinated and probably drunk in some cases. And it's just all screwball and it's not about the music and it's just them talking and it bores me. I really don't like shock jocks. They bore me. I like people that are excited about music and are talking about music.
Are you willing to say that the Grease Man went too far?
Who's the Grease Man?
Perfect.
Okay, yeah. Enough said.
He's too far away.
I
that's
I
back
wouldn't
up,
mind,
20 years?
a pair of DJs, riffing off each other, but it's got to be funny. It's got to be entertaining.
It's got to be funny, and you can have like a joke that you're having about, topics that are happening that day. That's fine, as long as it's still about the music.
Right. So, you follow certain bands, and you like to, make sure everybody knows who's got LPs out, who's releasing things. How do you find new bands? How do you go to shows?
So I do go to shows, but not as much as I'd like. Mainly because I just get so tremendously busy. It's terrible. But from a local standpoint, I'm very active on social media and on Instagram, and I'm constantly connecting with bands that know bands that know bands that know me. And seeing what music they're coming out with, and then seeing if it's music that makes sense to share.
Yeah.
I also use Bandcamp very aggressively.
Great site.
Searching for local music, as well as just punk music. That's where I get a lot of my punk music from. And then there's another category area where independent artists and labels will have a couple of services that they use to help send out promos for discovery. Okay. And I have a couple of them that send me music from independent artists, independent labels. And so I spend hours upon hours each week listening to that new music and bringing the ones that I think are really great. And I also have a relationship with Trouble in Mind Records. They send me stuff directly. Merge sends me things directly.
Wow, that's
Glitter
incredible.
Beat sends me things directly. So yeah, that's a lot of where I get my stuff.
That's fantastic.
Do you think punk music has gotten too old at this point?
No. I think that punk music, like I mentioned before, punk is more a theory than a genre. It's more a way of life. It's more something that's sprinkled into the music. So you can think back of the 77, 78, and all those big, a little bit in 76, all those big punk bands that originally came out, and I think they sound just as cool and fresh as they did back then. There's some troublesome lyrics here and there, but other than that, I think that they sound just as cool and fresh today. But in today's music, punk music has evolved, and shortly after the first big wave of punk music, which there continued to be punk music after that, but then you started having post-punk and new wave, no wave. Then you started to have hardcore, and so punk music became its own family before it just stopped being a genre and more of a feel. So there's folk bands that I think have a punk feel. Yeah. There's what could be considered classical musicians. There's jazz musicians. There's I think that sound, that vibe, the social outlook that punk music so often has, the political viewpoints that are shared within punk music. It has grit, it has meaning, and it has just in it just this anti-corporate, take care of your people kind of vibe that I think will never grow old.
Yeah.
I
That's very
always
good.
thought that it took a lot of courage for Paul McCartney to sing those lyrics, "I look at all the homely people."
That's lonely.
Pardon
Huh?
me? Pardon me?
What?
Homely.
Lonely.
Oh, God.
Yes.
By the time I could have my own, music device after the transistor radio, I had a boombox because it was the 80s.